Want to know who to take in your fantasy baseball drafts? Welcome to another episode of Pick 3 ADP, where we go round by round through fantasy baseball drafts, and I give you 3 players I like and 1 player I'm fading for each of those rounds. Today we're going to go through round 4, which means players currently going between picks 46 and 60 in NFBC drafts. We'll start with my stud option of the 4th round, which is Adley Rutschman. The Orioles catcher is going off the board 48th overall, and it's important to remember that NFBC formats are 2 catcher leagues, which is why that number is so high. However, I have Rutschman as my stud option here because I think it's important to discuss why he has emerged now as the #1 catcher in fantasy baseball. For starters, last year Rutschman hit .277 and paired that with an impressive 14.7% strikeout rate and 5.6% swinging strike rate with a really strong 13.4% walk rate. So he has tremendous plate discipline, and that actually caused the Orioles to hit him second in the lineup most games, which does diminish his RBI totals a little bit, but allows him to put up really good run totals and makes him a top 3, top 4 in the lineup hitter and one of the best offenses in the AL, which is really good for his counting stats and is something you don't really get from catchers in general. Yes, he doesn't really run a lot, although he did steal 4 bases in 2022. But I think there's room for more power upside. He had just 34% fly ball rate last year, which did cap his power upside. However, on his pull fly balls, he did hit the ball 98.5 miles per hour. So that's really good exit velocity. And if he can pull the ball up the pull percentage a little bit, I think you could actually get to some more power for him. So he's a young player who's going to get better in a good offense, who gives you elite 4 category upside for the position with maybe a few chip-in steals. And I think that's really solid production we can count on at the catcher position. Before I get to my solid pick of the 4th round, please pause this video, comment below, let me know who your favorite pick is in the 4th round, or ask me any questions you have for your fantasy baseball drafts. My solid choice of the 4th round is McLain. The Reds middle infielder is currently going off the board 57th overall, and I really like that value, but I have seen people criticize his rookie year or suggest that he's going a bit too high, so we want to dive into that right now. First, McLain put himself on the map by hitting .340 with 12 home runs and 10 steals in just 40 games at AAA, and then he carried over that power-speed combo in 89 games with the Reds last year. He made a good amount of hard contact with an 10.8% barrel rate and just a modest 10.5% swinging strike rate. Now everybody's going to see his lofty 28% strikeout rate. However, because he's not swinging and missing often, that came because of a 22% called strike rate. He was not nearly that passive in the minor leagues. So for me, that passivity suggests a hitter who's being a little bit less aggressive as he adjusts to major league level. Also, McLain pulled the ball way less in the majors than he did in the minor leagues. But because he has really strong bat speed, again, I don't think that's him being overmatched. I think that that's him being a little more passive or a little more selective. He had only 8 pull fly balls last year. However, he hit home runs on 50% of those and had 100-mile-per-hour average exit velocity on his pull fly balls. So I think you could actually see McLain get to a little bit more power, and I think there's a chance that he's a 25-25 or 25-20 guy next year while hitting .270 or perhaps even .280. And so I think that that's really solid value at second base / shortstop going here in the 4th round. My sleeper pick of the 4th round is Max Fried, who's currently going off the board 59th as the 16th starting pitcher in drafts. I have him as my 10th ranked starting pitcher, so I really think that this is a good value here. I think Fried is being unfairly punished for last year having 2 injuries. He had a delayed start due to a left forearm strain, and then the end of the year he battled a blister. However, those are 2 different injuries. It's not as if he was battling arm injuries throughout the whole year. And prior to this, he had 3 straight years of at least 165 innings pitched, disregarding that COVID-shortened 2020 year. So Fried has been good for 160 innings, and he's been elite when he's on the mound with a 3.03 career ERA. What I like also from Fried last year is he started to lean on the changeup a little bit more, which was great since it had a 19.6% swinging strike rate. And I know that Fried isn't going to give you a lot of strikeouts, but a 25% strikeout rate is really not that bad when you're pairing it with elite ratios and a good team context, since the Braves are one of the best teams in baseball, which should be able to get Fried enough wins. I think that given the uncertainty in the starting pitcher market right now, getting 160 innings of elite ratios and solid strikeouts from Fried is something I would rather do than take some of the gambles that are going after him. So I think Fried is really great value here at the end of the 4th round. Before I get to the pick I'm fading in the 4th round, click that link below to check out our new Rotoworld Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide. We've got projections, we've got player deep dives, we've got a lot of different fantasy baseball articles to help you with your drafts this year. So you can click that link below to take you right to the page, which will help you figure out how you can get the draft guide for the 2024 season. Lastly, the player I'm fading for the 4th round is Framber Valdez. He's going pick 58 as the 15th starting pitcher off the board, which is 1 pick ahead of Max Fried, who I just talked about as my sleeper pick. And because of that, there's just no way I can pick Framber Valdez since I'll take Fried over him in every single draft. Yes. Framber had a solid 3.45 ERA last year, which was supported by a 3.70 SIERA, and he does pitch for a really good team. However, there are a couple red flags which prevent me from drafting him in the top 15 or over a guy like Fried. For starters, he's a sinker ball pitcher whose sinker ball gives up a decent amount of hard contact. Last year he had a 42% ideal contact rate allowed. That's adding up barrels, solid contact, and hard ground balls and dividing it by batted ball events. So that's a really high amount of hard contact given up on his main pitch. He does have a really good curveball. However, he changed his cutter in 2023. He started to throw it almost 2 miles an hour harder. That led it to give up 42% ideal contact rate after he had given up just a 27% rate in 2022. So he gives up hard contact on the sinker, he gives up hard contact on the cutter. I think that kind of is a tightrope for him to walk to keep the ERA really low. I expect him to be about a 3.5, 3.6 ERA pitcher with a 1.20 whip or a little bit above, which is not anything wrong. That's not anything wrong with that. However, that to me that's a solid SP2, not somebody that I'm taking this early in drafts and not somebody that I'm taking over some of the higher upside pitchers that are going after him. So I'm fading Framber Valdez at his current cost. That's going to do it for this episode of Pick 3 ADP. If you haven't yet, please click below to like and subscribe to get all of our fantasy baseball content as the year goes on. Also, comment below, let me know who your favorite pick is in round 4 of fantasy baseball drafts or ask me any questions. And we'll check you on the next episode of Pick 3 ADP.